some of these mountains that can be climbed by you and me, it takes a day to get to the top, and then you just camp up there and you come down the next day. And on many of these places in Switzerland where you can do that, about halfway up the mountain is what they call the halfway house, halfway up the mountain. So a group of people starts off with a guide in the morning, and about noon, you're kind of tired, and you've been walking now for 4 or 5 hours, and you're coming up to the halfway house, and it's just it's a wonderful sight. Because as soon as you enter in the halfway house, you can smell the food, and they're getting ready for a good lunch, and you sit down, there's a fire in the fireplace, and there's nice soft chairs, and you can just rest your body and refresh your body. And so the people go into the halfway house, and they eat and laugh and enjoy and just really just kind of take in that wonderful, refreshing atmosphere. About an hour and a half after being in the halfway house, the guide gets up and says, well, gang, it's time to put on your gear. We got to hike. We got to get on up to the top. This is a fact. About half the people decide not to go on up to the top. They're sitting around the table, and they're just saying, you know what, go on up. You're going to be coming by here tomorrow. You're going to be having lunch here again tomorrow. We're just going to hang here. And so the people that want to get to the top, they put their stuff on, and they kind of leave. And the rest of the people sit behind. They eat a little bit more food, get around the piano, sing some songs, get around the fireplace, enjoy the fire, warm themselves by the fire. And all play games all afternoon, kind of enjoy themselves. But about 4:30, 4:45 in the afternoon, without anybody saying a word, the people who stayed in the halfway house, they slowly go over to where the window is, the big window, and they start looking outside, and they start looking up at the top of that mountain, and as they look at the top of that mountain, they see their friends. Their friends are now getting the tents out, and they're getting ready to prepare for the night, and it becomes very quiet, very somber, because everybody in the halfway house realizes the mistake they've made. They've sold their mission for a little bit of comfort for a few hours. Next morning, down come their friends, and by noon, they come into the halfway house. And when they come in the halfway, they are laughing, they're high-fiving, they're talking about what they've seen, where they've been, experiences, the fact that it was almost impossible to get up there. In fact, they had to help each other get up there, and how they joined teams and held hands, and they just telling all these stories and talk about the pictures they've taken, and they got the group picture up there with the flag at the top, and the people who remain behind, they don't say much. They just eat their lunch and then follow the rest of them down to the bottom of the hill where their friends are waiting for them. And those who paid the price and went to the top, who understood now is the time to reach the mission, they hug and tell stories and celebrate. And the others, they just kind of slip off and get in their car and go home, because they realize they're never going to be what they wanted to be. They're never going to see what they wanted to see. They're never going to do what they wanted to do, because they fail to realize when they're at the halfway house, now's the time to rest, and they go on.
First thing I want you to know that success is not a destination, it's a journey. Think of success as a process. Let me illustrate it and explain it this way. If you go to college, you work hard, and in 4 or 5 years, depending on what kind of degree you're working on, and in today's society, sometimes 6 or 7 years, but eventually comes the day of graduation, and you're all excited, and your family is there, and your friends are there, and you're there with your classmates, and you got your cap and your gown, and you know that there's going to be a time in that ceremony where you're going to walk across stage and the president, provost, somebody's going to shake your hand, hand you a diploma, congratulate you, and you're going to get off the other side. They're going to have presents waiting for you, and they'll be taking pictures, and everybody will be shaking your hand, say, congratulations today, you become a success, you're a college graduate. Now, my friend, you did not become a success the day that you got your diploma. Now, what you did have happen to you in that ceremony is you got recognized for success. The diploma is recognition of what you have done the previous 4 or 5 years. You see, you were a success in your freshman year when you decided to not drop out of school like some of your other classmates and decided to stick to it. And you were a success every time you studied for a test. And you were a success every time you did a project or did a writing assignment. You see, you're a success all through school. You're a success every day. Success is a daily thing, not a destination thing. The day you got the diploma, you just got recognized for the success that you already were. Now that's very essential, because so many times people have a tendency to devalue the moment, today. What they do is they greatly value the destination. And so they kind of talk about, well, when I get there, or if I arrive there, or when I do that, or when I accomplish this. And they don't understand that success is a daily thing. And I'm here to share with you that the secret of success is determined by your daily agenda. In fact, I wrote a book a few years ago called Today Matters. I'm passionate about that book because what it does is it helps me to understand that we make decisions and then we manage decisions. And too often we think, I will make a decision. For example, you're saying, I'm going to make a decision to be a coach. Or I'm going to make a decision, you know what, I'm going to make a decision to be a public speaker. I want to be a communicator. Well, congratulations, you've made a wonderful decision. Coach, speaking, good decisions. But that won't make you a successful coach. That won't make you a successful communicator. It's not the decision that makes you. You've got to make the decision by managing it, and you manage the decision on a daily basis. In other words, what you want to be tomorrow, you've got to do today. You visualize tomorrow. That gives you hope, and that's your motivation, and that's your dream. Nothing wrong with that. You visualize tomorrow, but you value today. What's that mean? That means that what I do every day is either getting me closer to that vision, that dream, that goal, or it's really driving me farther away from it. You see, every day we are either repairing or we're preparing. You see, if I messed up yesterday, guess what I get to do today? Fix yesterday. In other words, if I didn't do the right thing yesterday, what I got to do today is I've got to repair. I've got to go back, make amends, backtrack, put the car in reverse, put my life in reverse. I've got to go back there. I've got to repair. Now, every day I spend repairing, I'm not spending preparing. Well, you see, we repair when we fail to manage the decisions that we've made. We prepare when we, on a daily basis, manage the decisions that we've made. So your footprints to success are really footprints of success. Because every step that is made and taken based upon the goals that you have for your life, and you're managing those goals correctly, every step is the progressive realization of success in your life. And by the way, you'll get the diploma, you'll get the certificate, but when you get that, you didn't arrive. It just is another step in preparing you to reach your potential. Each one of us should live our life as if we'll never learn everything we need to learn. We'll never be able to accomplish everything we wanted to accomplish. We won't be able to experience everything we wanted to experience. We should live our life every day hungry, understanding that we are to live until we die. You see, I think success can't be summarized in a flippant degree or program or diploma or arrival. I think today, if you are learning to coach, if you are learning to speak, if you're doing the things that are essential to the decisions and you're managing those decisions well, can I say something to you? Congratulations, you are already a success. Now, guess what? Over time, it shows up. You've heard the expression. You maybe have even said it yourself. You've heard the expression, I'm sure. I've worked all my life to become an overnight success. That's the way it works. All of a sudden, somebody recognizes you. All of a sudden, somebody congratulates you. You didn't get good at that moment. You've been good for a long time. It just showed up someday.
When somebody comes and says, John, I want to be a leader, I always ask them the question, why? Why do you want to be a leader? I mean, do you want to be a leader because you want a corner office? Do you want to be a leader because you like to be in control? Do you want to be a leader because you love to be in the front of the pack? Do you want to be a leader because you want to have a good parking place? Why do you want to be a leader? Because leadership isn't easy. Leadership a lot of times isn't fun. Leadership a lot of times is kind of lonely. There's only one reason to be a leader, and that is to add value to people. And you and I will only add value to people if we truly value them. I have a nonprofit organization, Equip, that's trained almost 2 million leaders internationally around the world. And I kid you not, as I go to developing countries twice a year and I travel internationally and I sit down, sometimes I have the privilege of being in the offices of presidents of countries. And as I watch these developing countries, the thing that is the cardinal sin among leadership so much is that they have leaders of their countries that truly don't value the people. And if you and I don't value people, we will devalue people. Number two, if you want to add value to people, you have to make yourself more valuable. You just have to get better. You have to keep growing. You have to keep learning. You have to keep developing. Why? Very simply. If you're leading the pack, you've got to be able to give what you have, and you can't give what you don't have, and so therefore you've got to put a lot of good stuff in so that you can pass it on to others and share with them and add value to them. Thirdly, if you want to add value to people, you have to know and relate to what other people value.
You can tell you're on the road to success because it's uphill all the way. And I'm here to tell you, this something for nothing entitlement mindset that invades so many people's lives is a bunch of garbage. I can promise you, nothing that I've ever had worthwhile did I have just kind of fall into my lap like, oh my goodness, I won the lottery. And I know once in a while people win the lottery, but basically the people that win the lottery, half of them lose their money within 3 years, the money they won. And it's because they got money, but they never changed the way they thought. And can I tell you something? If you have all the assets in the world, but you don't change the way you think, you'll lose all the assets in the world. And what I have discovered in this whole process of trade-offs is that every step of the way of my journey, I have to trade something off. And and for you that are young, the good news is your trade-offs will never be easier than when you're young. Because I remember when Mark and I started out, I think, man, I gave up everything. I was a pastor to go in the ministry. I gave up everything, and then I start smiling. I thought, sure, I gave up everything. I didn't have anything to give up when I did. I was a kid. You know what I mean? I had a 1964 Ford Falcon and a U-Haul trailer and 5 pieces of furniture, and life was grand, and off we went. Here's what I've discovered, kid, and I think that I want the audience and I want everybody watching around the world to know today, and this is very simple. The more successful you become, the higher the trade-offs are. You see, we make a mistake thinking it gets easier. It doesn't get easier, it gets harder. And the more you have, every time you go back and say, am I willing to risk that again? the more you realize, wow, I'm not sure I am willing to risk this. And what I've learned is the moment I stop making trade-offs is the moment that I plateau. And life is continually filled with trade-offs. In your life and in my life, my expression I use all the time, Ken, you've heard me say this, you have to give up to go up. But when I started off in college, in my freshman psych class, they gave us a test that for each student to take on creativity. And there were 17 in that class. I can remember it well. And I was at the bottom of the class on creativity. I mean, I was like number 17 out of 17. And what the teacher posted the scores. And so, I mean, I saw how bad I was. And then I really felt bad, not only because I wasn't creative, but I was going to go pastor, I was going to go into ministry, I was going to teach, I was going to do sermons. And then I got to thinking to myself, I'm going to be another boring preacher. And that just gripped me. I thought, oh, this is going to be awful. I'm going to bore people all my life, you know what I mean? And then I'm going to ask them to pay while they hear me. I mean, this is an awful deal. So, and so two things I did. And I talk about it in the book. One is I started filing. I started taking thoughts and quotes. And the reason I started doing that is I thought, if I'm not going to be good at what I say, I need to quote somebody that is good. And so I started filing things that other people would say. So I'd go around and I'd say, well, Kim said, you know what I mean? And Joe said, and Susie said. And so that at least I would be a little bit more interested. And that's how it started.
You see, the greatest motivational principle in the world is that people do what people see. And too many travel agents, they're like, or too many leaders are like travel agents. They're sending people where they've never been themselves. And you want to be a tour guide. You want to take people with you. You want to say, this is the area where I've been, this is where I live, this is the area where I lead, come along and follow me. And at level number 3, your leadership begins to gain credibility because now you are fleshing out for the people around you and you are modeling for them things that they want to see, and you are starting to produce. Something magical happens when you begin to understand the most appreciable asset you have in any organization is the people of that organization. And you begin to commit yourself to developing the people within that organization, because how do you grow a company? You grow a company by growing people. And when you grow them, they increase their capacity. When they increase their capacity, they begin to increase the capacity of what you can do and what you can accomplish. Let me just share with you quickly 3 thoughts on developing people, just very quickly. Number 1 is the key to developing leaders, and the key to developing good people is in recruitment. The better person you bring in the door, the higher odds that you can do well with them. I remember having lunch one time with Lou Holtz, and Lou Holtz said, John, I've had bad players on my football team, and I've had good players on my football team. And he said, just to be honest with you, I'm a better coach with good players. Of course he is. Of course he is. Let me say something. 80% of your success of equipping people to be successful is in the front door on who you bring in. I wish I had time to develop that for you, because what happens is, unless you and I have a clear picture of what we're looking for, we don't know when we see it. Happens all the time. People come to me and say, John, I'm looking for some leaders for my company. What do you suggest? The first question I ask is, what does a leader look like? Give me the characteristics, give me the qualities. Please paint a picture for me. What does that leader look like? Because you've got to have that clear picture so that when you see that person, you know that they're one that you want. Recruitment is key. Number 2 is positioning. The ability not only to bring the right person in the front door, but also to put him in the right places. Collins would say, get him on the bus, get him on the right seat. And position is huge. And what I've discovered is that successful people have always positioned themselves well. When you see a successful person, they're successful because what they have done is they've found their strength zone and they've found their niche, and they stay right in that sweet spot, and they just work that sweet spot. You've never heard anybody be in an interview that was successful that you came up and you interviewed them and they said, well, the secret of my success is that I've never discovered what I was good at. Or the secret of my success is I've always worked on, I've just worked in my weakness. No, they're always in their strength. They've already discovered what they're good at. Now, successful people have discovered what they're good at. Successful leaders discover what other people are good at. Successful people position themselves well. Successful leader position the other people well. And at level number 4, that's exactly what happened. The leader is always looking at the people, observing, watching. Just like last week, I went back to my first school. I graduated from Ohio Christian University in a little town in Circleville, Ohio, and it's a little school, and I go back every year and I give them a day to speak, and they get all the proceeds and keep the money. And so because I grew up in that town, I told one of my friends that played ball with me, Tim, I said, Tim, let the ball players, let the team know, let some of my high school kids know that I'm going to be in town, and let's have a dinner afterwards. And we had over 50 people came together. I hadn't seen many of my high school mates since I graduated from high school, clear back in 1965. And we had a wonderful time. We laughed and talked and told stories for 2 hours, and Coach Neff, our basketball coach, he came back. Hadn't seen him for years. And when I saw him, I thought of myself, and I thought of back in those scrimmages in basketball, because the first scrimmage every year, Coach Neff would take the first team, and he'd say, now I'm going to let you play the second team, but there's one condition. The first team is not going to play their position. And he'd take Doug Roth, who was 6'8", and put him out at point guard. I remember he stuck me one year under center, and he put all the first team players out of position on offense. But he let the second team play in their position. And the second team always beat us in the scrimmage. Why'd they always beat us? Because, and then he would stop and he'd say, let me just explain something to you. No matter how talented you are, if you're out of position, you'll never reach your potential. What was Coach Neff teaching us? He was coaching us, and he was teaching us that it's key to get positionally correct. And it's also, as a leader, key to get your people in the right position. And at level number 4, that's what happens. At level number 4, you recruit well, you position well, and then you equip well. Now you take them and say, okay, I understand what their strength zone is. I understand what their giftedness is. Now I'm going to equip them. I'm going to come alongside of them, and I'm going to develop them, and I'm going to train them. And I use a very simple, for many, many years, a simple 5-step equipping process. It really works. Step 1, I do it. It's that simple. You can't teach somebody what you can't do yourself. We may teach what we know, but we reproduce what we are. So if you're going to reproduce yourself, you got to be it yourself. So the first step is I do it. Step 2 is I do it, and you're with me. I take you with me. Now we're going to spend time together. I'm going to be your mentor. I'm going to be your coach. You're going to watch me. You're going to observe me. You're going to see me in different situations. We're going to make sure that it works. We're going to make sure you're going to be able to ask me questions. Step 3 is now we turn it, and I hand the ball off to you. Now on step 3, you do it. You do it, and I'm with you. Now I'm watching you, and I'm tweaking you, and I'm helping you to get better, and I'm just really fine tuning you. Step 4 is you do it. You just do it. You don't need me anymore. You know how to do it. You do it, and you do it well. And many times people think that equipping stops at step 4, but it doesn't. There's one more step that's absolutely essential. Step 5 is you do it and somebody's with you. You've never really trained and equipped somebody until they can multiply themselves. That's where all compounding is. That's where all compounding of time, money, influence, the whole process. Compounding begins when you can train somebody who has trained somebody. I know that well because 14 years ago, I started a nonprofit organization called Equip that is now the largest leadership organization in the world, and we've trained and equipped over 3 million people in 154 countries. And the key to that is we don't train anybody unless they make a commitment to train somebody else. It has to continue to go on. That's level number 4. It's a beautiful level to be on. It's the level where you develop people. I think success, first of all, is knowing my purpose in life.
As I have watched and observed successful people, what I have discovered about them is they really have figured out why they're here. They really do have their act together. And knowing their purpose in life is a stability for them. So that when everyone else is rocking and rolling and things are a little unsteady and people are kind of leaving the ship and people are kind of abandoning their causes, but these people, they hold steady right throughout the storm because they have a true North Star. They truly are focused. It becomes an anchor in their life that just holds them steady. And the anchor is a confidence based upon a knowledge of purpose.
I've never met a person who was not successful that didn't have a great amount of self-discipline within their life. Self-discipline and being able to perform and being able to keep your life on schedule and being able to keep commitments and promises and meet deadlines is essential to success. None of us can afford to have a life that is controlled by someone else or a life that is basically controlled by our emotions. I learned many years ago that there are two kinds of people. There's the type of person who says, I'm going to wait till I feel like it before I do it. And then there's a person who says, I've got to do it so that I feel like it. One will never get anything done because they're still waiting to feel the moment to move. And the other person says, no, I need to move, and then I will begin to feel the moment. Sonia, self-discipline is essential in your life and in my life if we're going to get things done. So I have a challenge for every one of you this weekend. The challenge is simple. As you go through your weekend, and sometimes it's kind of hopefully an easier time of your week, ask yourself, am I practicing self-discipline in my life? Am I doing the things that I should do because I need to do them, or am I kind of waiting to feel the moment? Do like our friends Nike say, just do it.
I made a major change in my early 30s from just having answers and being a leader that just had to cast vision, show everybody what I was doing and where we were going. And I started asking intentional questions. And I became a person, I ask questions all the time. Every day I ask questions. And I have found just asking questions will take you on exciting journeys more than anything else. You excel in that, Ken. I've watched you over the years. You'd excel really in that. But for my early years, I didn't ask enough questions, and so therefore, I didn't get enough ideas and thoughts from others. So when people say, I want to be more creative, what's step one? Step number one is ask more questions. Just go to people and start asking questions. It's amazing what you'll learn.
They'll say something like, if you can believe it, you can achieve it. And that never quite rang true with me. So I began to press the issue, and I have come to the conclusion that attitude isn't everything. Now, I'm not disclaiming or in any way being disparaging about attitude, because I think attitude is very important. But if anybody comes up to you tells you that attitude is everything, I don't buy into that. That's not true. For example, attitude can't replace incompetence. If you're incompetent, you can be very happy, but you can still be very unsuccessful. Now, here's what I do know. Attitude isn't everything, but attitude is the main thing that'll make a difference in your life. Because I believe that, I wrote the book, The Difference Maker. You see, that's what attitude is. Attitude is the difference maker. You have two people side by side that you're thinking about employing in your company. Both of them have the same background, same job description, education, experience. I mean, you could almost flip a coin and say, I could hire the one on the right or I could hire the one on the left. But one has a great attitude and one has a bad attitude. Now, who are you going to hire? You're going to hire the person with a great attitude. Why? Because it was the difference maker.
Are you, or maybe a loved one, a family member, somebody that you're very close with, leaving your dreams on the table? Insofar as your money is concerned, or maybe the travel you'd like to do, or relationships that you want to develop, or the health that you really, really, truly want to enjoy, or maybe even your love affair. You're missing it. The dream has escaped you. How would you like to know a formula that's as exact, it's exact as mathematics on how to get what you want? See, most people are really extras in their own movie. They look at somebody else and they think, wow, if only I could do that. Well, let me let you in on a secret. You can do that if that's what you want to do. I'm betting that is probably not what you want to do. That's what they want to do. And you know something? If they're doing what they want, you can do what you want, and I can do what I want. See, we're all working with the same mental faculties. We're all working with the same power, and we're all working with the same laws. So it's a matter of understanding how to set and how to achieve goals. Have you ever been really ready to do something and you were scared stiff and so you backed away and left it back on the table? I know I've been like that. I know a lot of people are like that. Well, if you've done that in the past, or a loved one, you can share this with them. And I would suggest that you do invite some friends in and share this with them, and then sit around as a group and openly and very transparently discuss these hang-ups that we've got, because we've all got them. You're not the only one with them. Now let's stop and think about goals. You know, Thoreau was quite a guy. He said, if a person will advance confidently in the direction of their dream and just endeavor, in other words, you only have to give it your best shot, endeavor to live the life that you've imagined. You know what's going to happen? He said you'll meet with success unexpected in common hours. You'll be on your way downtown to do some shopping, and you'll think, I did it. I actually did it. I reached the goal. Do you know the beautiful part about working with goal setting and goal achieving with the right rules by law? That's exactly what happens. You reach the goal and you're motoring at such a speed and having so much fun, you get past it before you realize you've already done it. You're probably off to the next one. Do you know what it is? It's a habitual way to live a creative life that's fulfilling, that really leaves you inside like you've got something. Now, I refer to the system that we use in the Proctor Gallagher Institute. I refer to it as the ABC of goals. Now, you'd say, well, this looks pretty elementary. Well, I'm going to let you in on a secret. It is very elementary. It's just that most people never really learn it. Now, I'm going to talk about the A level of goals as doing things you already know how to do. I had a young guy come up to me one time in a seminar, and he asked me if I'd talk to him about his goal. And I said, sure, what's your goal? He said, I want to get a new car. I said, okay, what kind of a car do you want? He said, I want a new Pontiac. I said, I see. I said, what are you driving now? He said, a Pontiac. Well, you know, some little guard stuff would jump up in my mind. And I said, how old is your car? And he says, it's 4 years old. Well, I said, it's probably time you got another car anyway. You know? I said, how long have you had it? And he said, 4 years. So I said, now, let me get this straight. You have known for 4 years how to get a new car. Yeah? Well, I said, then that wouldn't constitute a goal. Now, that doesn't mean you don't get a new car and you don't get a new Pontiac. You can get a Cadillac if you want. You can get a Maserati if that's what you really want. And you should get a car. But you've known for 4 years how to get a car. You see, the beautiful part about goals and understanding it is goals are not to get. Goals is not, you don't set goals for acquisition. You set goals to grow. You set goals to reach inside and stretch and go where you've never been. You set goals to take you to a place you've never gone before. And you grow as a human being, and you know something, you never go back. So A-type goals, forget it. Now, let me let you in on a little secret. I'll caution you. Probably all the people you mix with deal with A-type goals. Now, why do I say that? Because we're attracted to people that are on the same frequency as us, that are in harmony with us. We talk about the same things, we like about the same things. So when you go for that new goal that's beyond the A-type goal, they're not going to support you. It's not that they don't love you, it's not that they don't want you to win. They don't want you to leave. That's right. They don't want you to leave, and you're going to leave, you're going to raise your consciousness, and you're just automatically going to attract a whole new world into your life. So where do we go if we don't do A-type goals? Well, you go to a B-type goal. Now, many of the people that really think they're shooters, they're really making it happen, they're going after B-type goals, and this really doesn't cut it. It really doesn't cut it. You know how I said in paradigms you got all this knowledge, but you're not using it? Well, that's true in the B-type goals too. See, the person that's after the B-type goal, they pay attention to what's going on in their life. They know how much money they've got in the bank, they know how much is coming in, and they're pretty accurate when they survey their world. I'm talking about their material world and their social world of, him and her and it and them, the people that they could go to for support. And they've got to have a plan. The plan has to be right on the money. Now, they think if this happened, and if that happened, and if she did this, and he did that, and if that money come in like I want it to come in, if all these things happen, then I can do that. So reluctantly, you say, that's the goal. You'd say, well, is that really the right goal? Why not? Well, because you already see how it's going to happen. So in that respect, it's much like an A-type goal. You got to stretch a little bit, but you know if everything falls in place. Now I'm going to tell you something else. There's no inspiration in a B-type goal, and you're going to have to be inspired. But you don't get inspired going after a B-type goal. And your old buddies, the A-type people that you're always with, they're not going to support you because they don't want you to leave. So we got no support, and we've got no inspiration. Now what's the next? The next is a C-type goal. See, the C-type goal, that's what I really want. When you sit and you daydream, you may have a couple of drinks in your mind, and you're off on a trip somewhere. If only we could do that, if only we could do. And you're fantasizing. But you see, there's a problem with fantasizing. You have been told you don't fantasize. That's not being realistic. It's totally illogical to think that you could do that. Well, that's pretty interesting, It really is pretty interesting. Because if you go back and you study in history and you take a look at the people that have really made their mark, they've been ordinary Johns and Marys who have done something that changed the entire world. Now, you'll often hear people say, well, one person can't change the world. I'm going to tell you something. One person changed my world. And I'll lay you odds, you get locked into this and you share it, and they're going to say you've changed their world. See, we've got to be able to get beyond that barrier of logic. We've got to break through that paradigm. That line that separates us from what we want? It's a paradigm. That's all it is. Do you think the Wright brothers were being logical? Do you think they were being realistic? They weren't scientists. They weren't aeronautical engineers. They were bicycle mechanics in Dayton, Ohio. But they were going to fly. Now, even their daddy was a bishop in a church. He told them they were going to burn in hell for even suggesting that they could fly. But and I know, they introduced us to the kingdom of flight. And it wasn't that many years until we were on the moon. Now think, they crashed right through the logic barrier. They went right through it. They didn't let it stop them. Now you may say, but they're different than me. Well, they probably are. They didn't leave their dreams on the table, and you may be leaving your dreams on the table. Get them off the table. Get them back in your mind. Fall in love with them. Plant them in your heart. What did Solomon say? As a person thinketh in their heart. You've got to get emotionally involved with this. How does a guy like me, no formal education, no business experience, earn millions of dollars, build a business that operates all over the world? I do it because I don't let logic stop me. I'm not afraid of losing. Now think, what do you really want? Go lay under a tree somewhere. Don't even talk to anybody. Let your mind wander. Let it take off. Go to the land of imagination. Think about it. Let your mind wander. Go right through the terror barrier that we call logic. I'm going to teach you something about the terror barrier later, but I want you to stop and think of what you want. I had the very good fortune of working with Sir Edmund Hillary. Now, you might not even know who he is, although he hasn't been gone very long. He is the guy that was the first person to stand on top of the world. He was the very first man to stand on the top of Mount Everest, along with Tenzing Norgay, his Sherpa guide. Do you know the beautiful thing about them, this little side deal? Neither one of them would say who got there first. Tenzing Norgay didn't say. Edmund Hillary didn't say. But they were the first, Hillary and his Sherpa guide. Now, Ed Hillary was a beekeeper from New Zealand. He was a beekeeper down in Auckland, New Zealand. Where did he get the idea that he could do something that has never been done before? People died. There's people encased in ice up there. They're never coming down. You say, but I'm not like Hillary and I'm not like the Wright brothers. You're exactly like them. You're exactly like them. There's a spiritual power within you that's perfect. Your spiritual DNA is perfect. And it's forever seeking expression within through you. That's why you want things. Don't throw your wants. Don't leave your wants on the table. For goodness sake, take a run at it. Go sit down at that table. Get a pad and a pen out. And start thinking, what do I really want? I want to be financially independent. That's something all thinking people want. I'm going to tell you something. When you have no money problems, you'll be amazed how much free time you have. You see, in this program, we talk about wants. We're not talking about what we think we can do, and we're not talking about what we've done in the past. We're talking about where we're going, what we're going to do. What do you want? I guarantee you, if you can describe it, if you can see it in your head, you can hold it in your hand. That's exactly the way it works. Napoleon Hill, my mentor, he said, anything the mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve. Now, you may not believe you can. I guarantee you stick with us and you keep studying what I'm sharing with you, and you'll change your beliefs. See, I found out that was one of the keys in my success. I changed my belief. See, our belief system is based upon our evaluation of something. And frequently, if we reevaluate a situation, our belief about that situation will change. There's a 3-step process for goals, goal setting and achieving. It's fantasy, theory, fact. You've got to build the fantasy. And it's okay to say that it's just a fantasy. That's where everything starts. That's where your clothes started. You probably have synthetic fibers on. You didn't always know how to do that. The building you're in, the air conditioning, the heating system, your cell phone, your computer. The fact that I can shoot this here and you can sit there and watch it. We weren't always able to do this. Somebody fantasized. And then they turned their fantasy into theory. See, they went from using their imagination and they began to use their reasoning factor, and they started to add thoughts to it. And they started to bring it together. And they started to give it some serious thought. It's like Hillary said, I bet I can get to the top of that mountain. Everybody's saying they're crazy. But they didn't know what he could see. He could see what they couldn't see. The Wright brothers. One was saying to the other, I see it, brother, I see it, I see us up there. And when they got up, they were only up for 14 seconds. And somebody said, yeah, but their first flight was only 14 seconds. And they said, we not only got up there, but we stayed up there for 14 seconds. See the difference in perception, in attitude? Don't listen to anybody else. The only person you want to listen to is somebody that's accomplished more than yourself and know that they're no better than you. Listen to them. Do what they tell you. I know how to win. If you can build the fantasy and you can turn it into theory, I guarantee you it'll turn into a fact. You hold the idea in your mind and it must manifest in form. That is an absolute law. The wealthiest man in the world in 1908 really started this movement that we are talking about today. Andrew Carnegie told Napoleon Hill, he said, any idea that is held in the mind, that's emphasized, that you fall in love with, that's either feared or revered, will begin at once to clothe itself in the most convenient and appropriate form available. Now, I want to share something that a lady come up on an airplane and give to me. She said, your materials really helped me. I want to give you something that's helped me, and it'll probably help you. It's a wonderful quote, and no one gets credit for it. Said, blessed are the humans who look for unseen things that are intuitive, but not yet accepted into the reality of life. The intuitive is the feeling part of you, the part that can see something nobody else can see. You see it in your mind. It's never been accepted into the reality of life by you or any of your friends or relatives or loved ones. But you can see it. You wouldn't be able to see it if you couldn't get it. Blessed are the humans who look for unseen things. They will be rewarded with knowledge and wisdom and will become the forerunners of the newest sciences on the planet. Do you know something? I get on a plane now to fly to the other side of the world, and they give me a duvet to cover myself. And they ask me if I'd like breakfast when I wake up. God bless the Wright brothers. God bless Ed Hillary. They're no different than you or me. Don't let the fact that you don't know how to do it set the goal. In fact, if you know how to do it, it's probably no good. It's got to scare and excite you at the same time. Now, I want you to go and sit down at that table. And you pick up those dreams that you've left sitting there for a while. And you say, no more. I'm alive, I'm awake, and I'm on the move, baby. There may be no one that understands, but I understand. And you write out your goal in the present tense. I am so happy and grateful. Now that I describe it. Don't let it slip through your fingers. Don't leave it on the table. Blame it.